Hi, welcome back to the Space Creator Show. Today, I'm so excited to be joined with another guest, Annie from Declutter with Delight. She's a professional organiser based in Oxfordshire, like me. And Annie is going to be chatting about how helping overwhelmed mums to basically find space to breathe in this chaotic world that we're living in. So yes, hi Annie, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, really well, thank you. Very excited for this. It's going to be
Good.
great to talk about something that's very close to my heart.
Absolutely. Yes, we have similar age kids, or I think Isaac is a year older. Is that right?
Yeah, like a year and a half older. Yes. So very full on age. He's 4. So
Yeah,
life feels very full and very busy.
definitely. Crazy. How did you get started, Annie? What made you decide to become a professional organizer?
Yeah, so my background is primary school teaching, as I think lots of organisers are.
Yeah,
Uh,
many.
Loved it, was very good at it, but it's just a hard time to be a teacher. And I noticed it was really impacting my mental health, my parenting, my marriage. So looked for something else. For a while, I worked as a consultant for an equality organisation. So was running training for people and realised that I was very good at working with people, but maternity leave and stuff kind of impacted that. And then so during COVID, we had our son, which was a tough time to have children. And I just really noticed it impacted both mine and my husband's mental health really quite deeply, particularly, the restrictions, not being able to see people, having a horrible pregnancy and then tough birth and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we just realized the amount of stuff that came into our house with our son was unbelievable. I just don't think I was prepared for the volumes of it. And I think probably some of that was also due to COVID. The guilt of not being able to take him to baby groups meant we probably got more stuff and it kind of spiraled. And I then realized the direct link that had on my mental health and my levels of stress when there was just stuff everywhere. So fast forward a few years, was kind of at a bit of a loss. I think a lot of mums have it of you lose a bit of your identity when you have children and kind of what's your purpose outside of being a mum and where does that come from?
Yeah.
And just realized that I had this real passion for organizing because when I was feeling overwhelmed with the stuff in our house, if I went through it, organized it, it just felt clearer and my head felt clearer. So then I just started pursuing it as a career. So I did a training course on how to organize. I then did your course on how to run it as a business. And actually I haven't stopped since because I've just realized there is a real need, not for amazing celebrity clients with high-end wardrobes. I mean, that's great. But there are so many mums with young children who are just overwhelmed because the stuff is everywhere. There's nowhere to leave the school bags and the shoes. The kitchen counters are full. There's no space to make a packed lunch. The bedding is dirty because there's nowhere to keep the clean bedding. It just spirals. And I've realized how many mums feel guilt around that and feel like this sense of personal responsibility. And it just makes me really sad because we don't need to feel that. You're not. I think women in particular have this innate feeling of I should just be able to do it.
Yeah.
But we're not automatically able to do taxes or drive a car. We have to learn how to do those things or get someone else to in my taxes. But for some reason with keeping a house really organised or decluttered, women in particular feel like I should just be able to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Yeah, so Declutter with Delight was born just trying to help women feel a bit less overwhelmed with their stuff. Yeah.
And you do an amazing job, Annie. You do.
Thank you. I love it. And I don't know if you feel the same. I feel like I've found my thing. So I'll be in someone's home surrounded by stuff and I'll just be like, oh, I love this.
It's like,
And I've never before, I don't know if this is a female thing again, because, we're not very good at praising ourselves, but I've found my thing and I'm really good at it. And I have moments where I'm like, this is it. This is my thing. And it
happy.
changes people's lives. And it's so empowering to know I found my thing. It's really cool. It's really cool. My son the other day said, you don't have a boss, you're the boss. And I was like, yeah.
You should definitely quote that.
And he then asked me when I was going to declutter the King's Palace, which I was like,
I saw that on your Instagram.
which is very funny. So yeah, so it's a complete life change.
Annie,
It does. My potential.
Yeah. Oh, it's so nice that that you feel like that, and it's so nice to hear as well, because the amount of people that I hear that message me and that just talk to me in general saying like, oh, how depressed they feel going to work and how much they wish that they could do something. And actually, I think for a lot of people, they don't actually almost realize that it is possible and it is a thing to enjoy your job.
Yeah.
And I guess I was the same. I think when you're in it, you kind of forget a little bit, don't you? But definitely before, like, I was never, ever, ever happy in a job, ever. Like, there wasn't one job I could say, yeah, I genuinely liked that. Like, in fact, the opposite. I hated them all. Like, I literally felt like my life was just like draining. It was just awful. Like, time never went so slow as when I was working in a job. I just hated it. And then I started my business and I'm like, I am freaking obsessed. Like, I love it. Like, it's like I work more than I've ever worked in my entire life in my business, but I'm obsessed with it. I love it. Like,
and you get to see the direct impact that your work has. So I enjoyed teaching, but with teaching, you always feel like you're watching over your shoulder. You're going to be judged. You're going to be caught out almost, even if you're a really good teacher. And so it's really hard sometimes to see the impact because you're torn in so many directions. Whereas this, I can go in and I can know if I meet a mum who just doesn't want to invite people round because she's ashamed of her house, and so her kids don't have play dates at home because their mum just feels that shame, which she shouldn't feel, rightly or wrongly, she feels it.
And it's so sad.
It's so sad. It's so sad. And also then, her kids aren't learning how to take care of their own things because they're just surrounded by all this stuff. I know that I can go in and it almost feels a bit braggy to say, but I can change that family's life because I can create a space that then is maintainable. Because I think that's the other thing that people don't realize, they want this beautifully organized house, but if they don't want to get rid of stuff, it's not sustainable. And it has to be, particularly with kids, there have to be systems in place where things get put away, because then everyone knows where stuff goes. And I think that's the other thing I've realized, that it's not just about the aesthetics of, lovely glass jars that are labeled. I mean, they're great, but it's about having a home for everything that every member of the family can find. My husband used to moan all the time because he just never knew where he put his wallet down. I mean, he still does sometimes, but now there's a very set place for it to go.
So put it there, it's your own fault.
So, my son knows where all of his toys are because they're all in specific storage units. And it's not even about expensive storage units or spending loads on storage. It's about having a home for stuff so that at the end of the day, when you're knackered and you've wrangled the kids into bed, it takes you 15 minutes to clear up.
I'm just laughing because last night was horrendous. It was a crying herself to sleep situation, and just I just get to a point, you're like, I can't do anything. Like, you're so exhausted, you literally need to sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, the worst. You feel like the worst parent in the entire world. She's normally really good at going to bed as well, so I think it's even worse because you're like, oh my gosh.
We've just hit the million questions at bedtime thing. So last night it was, why is blood red? How are the stars in the sky? How are volcanoes made?
Wow.
We make a movie. It just went on and on to the point where I was like, it's very sweet, but it's not sweet at 7:30 when I just want to go downstairs and sit on the sofa.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's just so much, isn't it? I feel that mums, our parents, are superheroes, but definitely mums.
Yeah.
The mental load is more.
For sure.
For sure. It totally is. And it is like, I mean, about the aesthetic situation, it doesn't, even if you want that, like if you aspire to having those jars and everything, which is totally okay if you do, like, I love it personally, but that I think that people tend to think, oh, it has to be like that and it has to be perfect straight away, otherwise there's no point. It's that perfectionism thing. And actually, you just need to declutter, get your house organized using what you've already got, right? And then once you know it, and then you're also not wasting money on buying the wrong stuff because you know exactly what you need to store. And then if you want to go and buy the fancy stuff that's a bit more, you can, and and you've done it right. But it's this whole thing of, oh, it's got to be influencing or whatever on.
I know. Well, in other words, like, the fancy jars are just a plaster over it, aren't they? Because it's still all there. I had one client who I was going to do a home consultation. She said, oh, I'll tidy up before you come. And I was like, no, I need to see as it is. If you're just every time someone comes around, you're just shoving the crap in the cupboards, there's still the problem there, because things don't have a home and you're just hiding it away, almost like a camel. Camel? What's the animal that sticks the head in the ground?
An ostrich. Yeah. I feel like I already knew what you meant there.
An ostrich effect, where you're just shoving your head in the ground and you're not dealing with the problem that's there. Whereas, like you said, if you can declutter, even just 10%, it just makes a difference. And I guess once you've started to do it and you see the benefits of it, you do more and more and more. I think for us, like before any of this started for me and just feeling overwhelmed with all of my son's stuff, when I started to see the amount come in and I was starting to try and work out how do you store toys? How do you get this away? Because, so for us, our lounge is also our playroom. We don't have 2 separate rooms, which a lot of mums have. It's lovely to have a playroom, but many, many people don't have that. So in the evenings, when you're sitting on the sofa, you don't want to be faced with this mountain of toys. You want what feels like an adult space. And I think for us, it was this real drive to like, how can I hide the plastic tap so I can't see it we didn't have much of a budget at all. So I didn't want to spend money on things, but how can I sort it? And how can I do it that he can just find his vehicles or the train track or the thing without like pushing through piles and piles and piles of stuff? And once I started to do that and suddenly realized how much easier it was for me, but also for him, and he now knows to tidy up, and he doesn't always do it happily, but he knows to do it. And he knows where things go. And so it just has made our life feel a bit easier. And so I think once I started to do that, I was like, what else can I do?
Yeah.
What else to feel less overwhelmed? And I guess, I don't know, it's a bit cringy, but it is can you control when everything feels out of control? Because a lot of early parenthood is just out of control in so many ways, like your relationship, your house, your body, your hormone, your sleep is just all
control. Yeah.
And so I think for me, it was what can I control in a lot of this scary stuff. And I guess for us as well, because it was happening during COVID, there was all the extra
I just can't imagine. I mean, we've spoken about it before, but it just so hard for you to.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah, really, really awful. And I think drastically changed both mine and my husband's mental health because of the unique circumstances of going through giving birth during that time and stuff. So I guess I even more felt like I needed to find ways to feel less overwhelmed. Yeah, which I guess is why I probably feel so passionate about it for mums particularly, because I've been in the depths of that, like paralyzed by everything. And where do you go from that?
Yeah. And I think that is what it makes you so great as well, because you have actually, had that real, very, very, almost impossible thing to deal with. I mean, just an absolute, you can't even write it really. And so I think you've got that compassion to any of your clients who have, not necessarily obviously been through the same thing, but dealing with parenthood, new parenthood, especially in difficult situations. And I personally think that the majority of professional organisers actually start because of something personal that they've had, and not everyone does, but I do think it really helps. And it, I don't want to say it makes you a better organizer, but it definitely.
But I think it helps with the empathy thing. And I think, interestingly, I don't know if I'd necessarily considered that when I first started the training. I guess I probably loved the idea of organising a beautiful house with glass jars because it looks aesthetically pleasing. But I think I probably did maybe 2 high-end wardrobes and then was like, I don't know if this is necessarily for me. I mean, and obviously when you're starting out, you kind of go with everything, don't you? Because
I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, I think interestingly, doing your course, shameless plug, it did make me really think about my ideal client. And, while the idea of a high paying, very wealthy client is great financially, it didn't satisfy me because I just, to be honest, I sometimes would feel a bit like other people could use this so much. And often the people who could really use it often would struggle financially with it, but you can just see the difference it makes. And I think it is that empathy. If I come from a place where we probably would have struggled to pay for it, and I had that overwhelming feeling as a mum. And so therefore, I think it feels natural for that to be my client because I can get it. And I can get it if someone is ashamed or crying or, it takes such vulnerability for someone to let you in their home.
Yeah, but and even
if they know I can empathize, it makes such a difference, I think. Whereas if you come in and you're like, nope, it's ridiculous, get rid of everything. No one's going to feel safe with that. I think it makes someone who is very empathetic and gentle and knows when to be firm at the right times. Because, you can say, do you really need 13 whisks?
Yeah.
I do think maybe it's different with different clients, but I think if you're working with mums who feel overwhelmed, it needs to be a very gentle approach because life at that stage is overwhelming.
Absolutely. And even, for again, not everyone, but for some clients, even just that initial getting in contact is so scary and such a mountain to climb. And you know, I've had this, you've had this, like so many of my clients have had, as in pro organizer clients, have also had this where, for example, they've had people following them on Instagram for like years, and then all of a sudden they've randomly got in touch because they finally feel like they kind of trust you enough and know you enough from hearing you speaking, and then they get in touch. And because it's such a, for us, we're like, yeah, we don't judge, like we just want to help you, like that's our entire job, like we genuinely want to help you. But for the other person, for the client, it's still very scary, even if, okay, well, in a practical sense, I know that she's not going to judge, I know this, that and the other, but it's everything, isn't it? It's all the emotions. We have so many limiting beliefs, which obviously I talk about a lot, and it is, but yeah, I do encourage everyone who is thinking that they need it just to get in touch with someone, but definitely do your research first, you know, because everyone is different. Like I would argue that you're probably a lot, well, in general, a lot like more gentle than I am. I'm quite, come on, let's go. But at the same time, I would never force anyone to get rid of anything. So everyone is different, right?
And it has to suit the individual client, doesn't it?
Totally. It's not every organizer is the same. Everyone has different personalities. But yeah, and also the benefits. It is one of those things where, because it's slightly newer, a sort of industry or profession, people don't have their head around the kind of investment as much as like say something else. And also there's the kind of shame element, but separate from that, like for example, if you need your house decorating and you don't have time, or you are rubbish at painting, for example, you're just going to go and hire a decorator, and it's going to cost XYZ, 300 quid a day, whatever it is, and you're going to pay that because you need it done. But there's this thing where it's like decluttering, and I think it's very much, there's so many angles to it, but it's like, oh, that's expensive. But actually, yes, of course, it's lovely to have a nicely decorated house, and it is going to impact you every day if it looks nice. However, having an organised home and a clutter-free home, as opposed to having a decorated wall, you're going to get a hell of a lot more value, benefits, mental benefits, financial benefits, benefits in your relationship. The benefits are arguably endless from having a clutter-free, organised home, but because it is still quite new and people don't fully understand it, and that's why it's our job to help people to understand what it achieves, because you're going to keep getting a return on investment. Even if you hire a professional organizer for a whole week, I mean, you probably wouldn't do it all in one go if you're decluttering, because that's a lot of mental energy. But, you know, if you had an organizer in for once a week for a month or something, you're going to get a much bigger return on investment than you are from arguably so many other things. And once systems are in place, you can maintain it, right?
Yeah. I do also think for a long time, it has been seen as a luxury. So I think it's been seen as a high-end, you know, celebrity wardrobes and things like in America, the home edit and stuff makes it seem like that when you have a giant walk-in pantry where everything matches. And so it's seen as this real luxury service. And I do think more and more and more is being seen as an actual essential thing rather than only for incredibly wealthy people. And the impact is, the benefits are being seen more and more. But I think it takes time. You know, still, people ask what I do, and I say I'm a professional organizer. And they go, like, what's that like? Oh, you wouldn't want to see my house. You'd be shocked at it. And I actually wish, I'd love it.
Let me see it.
And I think people often, I've had people say, oh, I think I'd be nervous having you around to my house. And I'm like, well, I'm just a person. Like, my house gets messy. I mean, you should see what my lounge looks like right now, or with so many clothes to put away. But that's normal human life. That's, you know, it's not that once your house has been decluttered and organised, it stays perfect forever. You have to put in the work to maintain it. So our house gets messy, but we then tidy it up. And because everything has a home, everything goes away. So it still gets to that state where I'm like, well, this is too much. But then it takes an hour to do it all and it all goes away. And I think people don't realise that. And they, you know, they think that if I go around to their house, I'm just going to be sitting there, oh, that's not very well organised, or that's out, that's out. But it's not that at all. It's just, how can I help? And how can I help you feel less overwhelmed or less ashamed? If, you know, if you're someone who's saying, oh, you can't come around to my house because you'll judge the mess, let me help, because I can reduce that feeling. It doesn't have to be perfectly done. You don't have to spend tons of money on it, but let me help you feel less ashamed, because I feel so sad at the thought of people feeling ashamed of their homes. And I think some of that comes from this pressure of having to have a perfect home where everything's matching. But in reality, that's not life for most of us. You know, you have stains on your sofa, you have
so many stains on my sofa.
I'm not even bothering right now. I'm like, I'm just going to wait till he's 10.
Never get a
There's
white
no
sofa
point.
for children.
And I just, every now and then I'm like, maybe I should just stop him from eating and drinking on the sofa. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. So I'm just leaning in.
Exactly the same thing, Annie. I'm like, right, when no one is eating in the sitting room again, and you just can't.
No, it's just realistic. But that's just life with kids, isn't it? And so I think that feeling of everything having to look perfect just adds so much more pressure onto mums when already we're meant to take our kids out to do X, Y, Z all the time to keep them intellectually stimulated. We shouldn't ever let them watch TV unless it's something educational, but even then it can only be for 10 minutes every 2 weeks. And are they eating 7 types of vegetables every day? And have you homemade everything? Because if you bought something, then you're a terrible mum. And just already overwhelmed, and to have this perfect home. But realistically, let's be honest, is probably on me to keep doing, because I'm probably working part-time or not working when my partner is working, and so therefore somehow that means it's fallen on me. It just makes me feel so cross for so many women that are stuck in this limbo of trying to do everything and therefore feeling overwhelmed. So it doesn't need to be like that. And I think, if people can reduce the amount of stuff they have in their home, the less stuff you have, the less there is to organise. Like, it's a simple mathematical thing. If you have less there, it's quicker to tidy up because there's less stuff to put away.
Yeah, 100%. And like every single thing in your house is essentially a to-do list, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so the less you have, the less mental load you have. We have such a ridiculous mental load, like with nursery, school, like our work, life admin, my God, all the other things. Yeah, like the car, wild. And then all this extra physical crap in your house. It's a joke. It's literally the quickest way to reduce your mental load.
For sure. Because you look around and everything you see is something to do, which also then means, I've realised this, it means it's harder to rest because you sit down and if you can see 7 different things that need to be put away, you have to physically fight against that urge to do it or feel really guilty that you're not doing it. And how ridiculous that you should feel guilty for sitting down.
I know.
It's just so ridiculous. And yet we feel it because you feel like you should be constantly doing stuff, constantly. Because if you're not doing stuff, what is it you've missed? What is it you've forgotten to do? What is it? Have you applied to that? Have you sent that? Have you, done that? And it just makes me sad. It makes me feel really sad for mums because I think so much of that does fall on them. And so if you have less clutter, your mental space is just so much clearer because you're not looking at a constant to-do list everywhere you go. And yes, there might still be things to do, but it's so much less. Yeah. So much less.
It's so much quicker, like so much quicker when you don't have to be moving things around to clean or picking things up to Hoover, whatever. It's just like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So
if you were going to give someone some advice, like if they were completely overwhelmed, don't know where to start, they want to try and do some themselves, where would you say for them is like the best place to start?
It's not a helpful answer, but I guess it's really individual to the person. So I would say, where is the room that either makes you most stressed and overwhelmed and frustrated? Like you walk in and you just go, and leave it again. Or what is the room you use the most? So for a lot of people, they would say the kitchen or they would say their bedroom. Because if you can choose a space that is used all the time, that will have a direct impact on your mental health if it's clearer. So, even just clearing the surfaces of the kitchen, next walk into that room, you will just breathe a bit deeper. You'll just go, okay, there's space to make dinner, or there's space to make a cup of tea, or to make a packed lunch. So I would say it's very easy to feel like you have to go all or nothing and do everything. So if you're going to do your kitchen, you're going to do your whole kitchen, and I'm going to take a whole day and I'm going to empty out every single cupboard. And that's great. That's what I would do. If I was doing your kitchen, I would come and empty out your cupboards. But that's because I'm a professional organizer. If you're doing it, that's going to overwhelm you. And within 2 hours, that's being generous, within 2 hours, you're going to go, what am I doing? Screw this, and just shove everything back in. So I would say do it very, very gently and very slowly. So set a 10-minute timer and just look around the room and see if there's anything straight away that can go in the bin, in a donate pile, in a recycle pile, and just get them out of the room. So like literally get bin bags and just fill them. I don't know if you feature them on yours. I try to on my Instagram. There's a really great charity collection that comes to your house, Anglo doorstep collections. So good.
Yeah, they're so good. Because we're very close, aren't we? And it's amazing. Yeah, like when I was still working with clients in home, and I would just get them to collect, because I used to always drop everything to charity shops, and you just don't have time. It's just it's such an extra
Yeah. Yeah.
time. It's so time consuming.
It's an extra barrier, isn't it, to doing
Yeah,
it?
yeah. But they just come
Yeah,
back.
so I book one once a month. So we always have one booked in, and then we have a box in our house, literally in our house, that if I see something that I just think we just don't use it and we don't need it, I just pop it in that box, and then once a month I know it's going to go. So I don't have to find the time to go to charity shops. I don't have to run around everywhere, but I know it's being removed. And I know some people don't have the space to do that. But equally, I would argue, if you're feeling overwhelmed with the amount of stuff in your house, a box in a corner somewhere probably isn't going to make that much difference, but is somewhere that you can start to clear other spaces.
Yeah, agree. It's such a good idea. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So I think it just helps, because then you're not having to do everything in one go. And if you get your sides clearer, then it's a bit easier to think, oh, I'll just look through my, I don't know, cutlery drawer, because I know I've got 7 different sets of measuring spoons in there. So actually, it's probably quite an easy decision to make to get rid of a couple of those. You know, if you start with the easy decisions, don't go in on the sentimental box first day, because
Definitely not.
you're just going to be a crying puddle of emotions on the floor. I mean, we've got so much sentimental stuff because it's sentimental. Like, there's a reason why people keep it. So start with the easy stuff. Start with your 15 wooden spoons or your 7 measuring cup, you know, whatever it might be. Start with easy things, because you need a little win, and you need to be able to celebrate that little win. And I don't know about you, I find it almost a little bit, it gives you such a boost, like a real, like, oh, I've achieved something amongst all this chaos, and amongst packed lunchboxes and nappies and park trips and nursery letters and everything else. There's one small zone that feels a little bit clearer. And so then it feels easier to tackle another zone, and tackle another zone, and tackle another zone. You know, same with if laundry is just overwhelming, well, can you just go through and make some quick decisions on certain things? So like, if there's stuff that has just got holes in, like, we all keep clothes for a long time, but actually, if it's got holes in, do you actually ever wear it? Because if you don't, just put it in that box. You're not getting it out of your house, you're just putting it in the donate box for now. So it's still in your house if you really change your mind. But if you put it in that box and you then don't think about it for another 2 weeks, probably don't need it. And that can then start to clear some space in some drawers or a wardrobe, to then be able to start to tackle that laundry pile. You know, I see clients who, they just live out of the clean washing basket because it never gets put away. And that's fine, because life is so busy.
So many people have that.
So many people. Yeah. But if you don't have space in your wardrobes and drawers, of course you're going to do that. Because to put your washing away isn't just a quick 10-minute job of pop it away. It's a, oh my gosh, well, I need to do this and I need to do that and I need to do that. So yeah. And I also would say, don't worry about the folding. That probably doesn't make me a very good professional organizer. You know, some people love a perfect fold, but I mean, life is short. I will do it for you if I come to your house and do your wardrobe, because it will look nice, but you're not going to maintain that. And that's fine. It's okay to just shove things in a drawer. That's fine. So long as it's got a space. I just think that the life stage of busy mums is not one to use a folding board and make everything look perfect, is it? Let's be honest.
I have many a time lobbed things into a drawer and gone, yeah, I don't care. I just don't care.
Stuff. You're like, you're just going to tear it all out anyway, and to find that one specific t-shirt that they'll have to wear. So I just think there's no, I don't know, it's just an extra pressure. Again, it's another thing that you can feel like you're failing at if you haven't done it, you know, and then you just don't do it at all, because you just think, well, if I'm going to have to do my wardrobe, I'm going to have to learn how to fold everything, and it's all going to have to be perfect. So I just won't do it.
Yeah. With wardrobes specifically, if you are someone who is living out of the clean laundry basket, like we were just saying, it's that thing about, well, 2 things, not doing it all at once. So let's say you just start with decluttering some of it, and then you are still lobbing things in drawers. Great. But at least you're putting it away rather than it being sat in the laundry basket. So that's one. And then once you manage that, and maybe you've got a bit more time, then maybe you can actually think about, okay, I am going to put everything away properly, and then see how it is. And then actually, does everything fit? Because then you also know, okay, this is enough. This is how much stuff I can have, because this is what fits. And then you can do it in stages. You don't have to do it all at once, because like you said, going from that to perfection is just unrealistic.
Yeah.
But also, there's another thing. If you are living from the laundry basket, then you kind of probably want to question, do I actually need all the other clothes? Because I'm living out of this anyway.
Exactly.
And that could, it could be that actually, no, you really do need them. You really want to get to that point to wear those clothes, but you just haven't been able to manage it yet. Or it might be, actually, I literally don't need any of them, so I'm just going to get rid of them all. it's about asking yourself questions and being really honest with yourself as well. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And I think people really struggle with that, which again is why I think professional organisers are really helpful, because you can ask those questions. And again, like, I would never force someone to get rid of something, but I would question it if they wanted to keep certain things, because I just think, well, are you keeping that because you feel like you have to? Does it feel, people often, particularly with things like sentimental things, they feel like it's disloyal to the memory if they get rid of it.
Yeah.
But actually, you've still got the memory of it. You don't need to keep, I don't know, a ticket stub from a concert 9 years ago, because actually you've still got the memory of that. You've probably got the photos of that. And it's not disloyal. You know, same with if someone's given you something that you really don't like. Like,
That's
yes,
always a tricky one, but yeah.
it's hard to get rid of it because you feel guilty. And I get that. Like, I've got certain things that I've been given that I don't love. Getting rid of something doesn't take away the act of the giving.
Yeah.
They've still had that joy of giving it. They've still had, you know, and people aren't going to come into your house and go, can you actually show me where you stored that, I don't know, random mug that I gave you 3 years ago? They're not going to come and check. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of excuses that people tell themselves. And then when you are time short or stress heavy, it's much harder to make those decisions. And, you know, decluttering, it involves 1,000 small decisions. So it is really hard to do on your own, particularly if you're trying to do it within a window. Like, you've dropped the kids at school, you've got 5 hours, and then you need to go and pick the kids up again. It's putting an immense amount of pressure on yourself to have to do a lot of things that you don't necessarily have to do it. Like you said, you can do it in smaller chunks. You can tackle things gently. So I think it's just a lot about being kind to yourself, because it's so easy to try it, not manage it, and then, oh, that's another thing I failed. It's another thing I haven't managed. It's another reason I feel crap about myself. And actually, that's just really sad, because people don't need to feel like that.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing about just the small win, isn't it? Because it's essentially rewiring your brain, right? When you do one thing and you complete it, because there's this big issue where with like self-trust. So if you constantly saying to yourself, I'm going to do this, and then you don't do it, and you're doing that all the time, then you're just telling yourself, well, I just can't do things. I can't complete things. Whereas if you give yourself a task and you make it easy for yourself and you do it and you stick to it, you are then reframing how you're thinking, and you're rewiring your brain in terms of, actually, no, I can complete things, and actually I can do this. So actually I'm going to keep doing it again. And it's all those things. It really is. It's the consistency, doing it consistently, and then it's the compound effect, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And everything just happens, instead of going, oh yes, I need to empty my entire house, declutter the whole thing and organize it in half a day. Literally not realistic. And I think with the TV program, sometimes it makes it look like it's kind of easier than it actually is. And actually, most people don't have the option to remove everything in their house and bring it back in again.
Or a team of 30 people working behind the scenes to do it all.
Yeah, exactly, that they don't know about. And so, yeah, I feel, yeah, it kind of gives a bit of a sort of unrealistic
I agree.
situation. And it's just not, you just can't do it. And also, if you did do everything at once, how, please, are you going to get that all out of your house?
Yeah, for sure.
Get outside and get rained on and get trashed.
Yeah. And that's the thing. People just don't consider that exit plan of, like, what are they going to do with all the stuff? And so then if you keep it, so, like, obviously, like I said, having a box for a charity collection is fine because you know it's going to go. But if you don't have that, then it just creeps its way back in, and then you're just in the same situation again.
Yeah, exactly. You have to get out. And even if you book them once a week, like, when I was still working with clients in home, I had charity, and like literally not every, because they came every 2 weeks, but I would have them every 2 weeks, just constantly. And I'd have so much time, and they'd be like, thanks, I'll just take it all. I'm like, yeah, it's that. And also it can help if you pre-book them, it can help with accountability, because you're like, oh, well, I don't want them to turn up and not, I mean, yes, you can cancel them, but if there's a collection coming, you're like, okay, quick, what can I do?
Yeah, I've literally done that. I've literally, like, there was one time I forgot, and then I was too late to cancel it, and I was like, oh, I need some stuff. So I literally ran around my house with a plastic bag, but actually I couldn't even tell you what was in it. So I clearly haven't missed it.
Yeah.
You know?
I've done exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like literally being on a Zoom being like, shit, I've got a collection.
Yeah. Interestingly though, you know, when you're saying about like the small wins and doing that, I was talking to a friend at the weekend, and she was saying that she So like I've talked to her a lot about what I'm doing. She was like, oh, I was a bit inspired by you and did our bathroom. And she lives in this like small flat in London. They've got a baby. Like it's a lovely, lovely flat, but they are just short on space. And so their bathroom, she has said, can feel a bit overwhelming sometimes. And she was like, I thought it was going to take ages. I went through, checked all the medication, checked all the toiletries and stuff, got rid of loads of stuff that was out of date, and it feels really clear. She was like, and it only took me like an hour, and it was amazing. So now I'm thinking, what else can I do? And I was like,
Yay.
seems, I think often the concept of how long it's going to take, well, I need a whole day, isn't actually true to how long it really does take. Once you get started, it's the getting started that's really hard. But once you start, you know, checking through your medications for what's out of date can literally be done in 10, 15 minutes. But it's just the getting started with it. I quite often try and do it when my son's in the bath and I'm in the bathroom with him. I'll quickly like check through the medicine cabinet, or I'll do those things, because otherwise I'm just sitting anyway and waiting, because he likes a long bath. Which is fine. But I do try and use that time to like just double check what's under the sink, or double check what's in the medicine cabinet, because I know that often I'll have completely forgotten about that thing, or like, you know, you'll have the old Calpol bowl that's completely empty and just crusty around the rim that's just been kept for some reason, and it doesn't look massively different once I've gone through it, but I just know mentally it's just done. It's just done. And I think it's the small wins and the small steps you can take to reduce the pressure, but to also reduce the overwhelm. So yeah.
Oh, love that. So any other tips for mums feeling overwhelmed? Anything else that you think, yes, this can really help?
I guess, I mean, this is easy to say and hard to do even for myself, but I think a lot of it is recognizing the insane pressure on mums nowadays, you know, particularly from social media. It just like, it is so much more than in our parents' generation, because they didn't have this constant drip feed into how you should be mumming, all the, you know, mumfluencers and all that stuff.
Yes.
So I just think wherever possible to check that internal narrative, because if you're sitting there going, oh, I should have done this and I should have done that and I should have managed that. So many of my clients go, I should have been able to just do this, or I should have done that before you arrived, or I should have got rid of that. And I don't know why I did that. And I'm like, just be a bit kind to yourself, because saying I should have done that doesn't change the fact that you haven't done it. It just makes you feel crap.
Yeah, totally.
It doesn't change anything. It's just an extra level of guilt to the guilt you're already feeling. I can guarantee you my husband doesn't feel that guilt. Guarantee you. And I'll say it to him that, oh, I should have done that. And he's like, why? Why should you have done that? I'm like, well, look, you could have. But there's no way you're sitting there thinking that. So why am I thinking that? And I think it's because we're just tuned into this feeling of you're meant to be Supermum, where you should have done everything, but you're just going to be overwhelmed. And so you're not going to get anything else done, and you're just going to feel worse. So it's just trying to be kind to yourself and let a lot of that go. And that takes work and it takes time. It's not oh, great, now I feel fine. Thank you so much. Just be nice to myself. Thanks, Sam. But it is a process, and it's said loads, but you know, that internal narrative, would you speak to anyone else like that? Would you say to anyone else, oh, you should have done that, you should have been on top of that, why haven't you done all of those things? Of course you wouldn't. You'd never speak like that to someone else. And so it's trying to challenge that, because the more you can let go of that guilt of should, and I haven't done that and I failed on that, the easier it feels to then see the small wins. Because if you can let go of, well, I should have cleaned the kitchen, or let go of all that stuff, or whatever it is, you just suddenly have a bit more mental space to do the cutlery drawer, or fold a load of washing, or put another load on, you know, the endless chore of laundry.
No, wild.
But you always feel better if you've just done that one thing, but only if you've let go. Like if you're just doing everything because otherwise you failed, that's no way to live, really. And it's no way to take care of yourself. And I mean, self-care as a mum is a whole different, I mean, you could talk for hours about that, couldn't you? But, and all, you know, all this rubbish about, well, just take a shower and that's self-care, and makes me very angry. But there is something honestly, I remember in those early days when he was tiny, and they'd be like, oh, but you've managed to shower, well done, really good self-care. And I'd be like, that's not self-care, that's like standard basic human needs. Anyway, I do think there is something to the narratives and self-care, because self-care shouldn't just be physical, it should be mental health as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where it starts. Like, it 100% is. I mean, I bang on about this all the time, but you are the creator of your life. And so if you are constantly talking to yourself in a negative way, I'm terrible at this, I can't do this, I should have done this, I should, blah, 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 all you're doing is making more of that happen, Whereas the first thing is awareness, isn't it? So you need to actually realize that you're doing that. And some people just don't. And it is hard. Like sometimes you are stuck in that situation. But once you're aware of it, then you can start catching yourself and being like, actually, no, because it's just the gremlin, right? It's your primitive brain trying to get stuck in the same situation, even though you'd be better off in a different situation. And so if you start reframing that, like, actually, I haven't done that. I'm going to do it. XYZ, fine, whatever. But whatever it is in this specific situation, that is it, because you will find that your life will get better. Even if you don't have a specific plan, whatever it is that you're trying to bring into your life, you don't necessarily have a specific plan. But the minute you start talking to yourself better, the universe will align. Like it just does. And you can believe it or not, but if you're not happy, why not try it? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And also I would say, like, thinking about your kids as well, like if they're seeing you talk about yourself like that, that's what they're going to learn to do. And, we want our kids to have like this growth mindset, to try things, for it to be okay to fail, okay to question things, okay to get things wrong. But if we're saying that to them, but then we're berating ourselves if we haven't done something, that's what they're going to learn. And I just think that's just, I don't know, it just makes me feel quite sad, because it doesn't need to be like that.
Yeah. And kids, they do what you do. They don't do what you say, right? So if you are constantly like, oh, I'm terrible, or I'm this, or I'm that.
Yeah.
And not to try and add another to everyone's to-do list, but it is.
So don't feel guilty, but also don't do all these things.
No, but it's so true. You've got to put your oxygen mask on first. And if you do in any capacity want to change any area of your life, you've got to get really honest with yourself, and you've got to have like a real deep look about what you're doing, what you're saying to yourself. And there's so many like little things that you can do to help that actually don't take any extra time. Like you can listen to, like self-concept rampages or whatever on YouTube for free, and you can just be having them playing like while you're putting your washing away. And yes, you might feel like, God, that's weird, or that's cringe, or what the hell is that going to be? But I guarantee you, if you feel really shit about yourself and you start listening to those, you will start to feel better. Like, but it kind of starts with the worthiness thing. And so many of us don't feel worthy. And that's the bit you need to address first. Because if you start telling yourself, I'm a millionaire, and you feel absolutely unworthy, that's never going to happen. So, but definitely being kind to yourself.
Yeah. And I think the other thing I would say as well is that it is okay to ask for help and to talk about how you're feeling. So like even, saying to friends, how are you managing the clutter from your kids? Or how do you keep on top of things? Because more often than not, they'll go, I don't, I'm drunk. And you go, oh, it's not just me. I feel so much better that it's not just me. Because I think there's such this like isolationist feeling of everyone else has got their shit together, but I haven't.
Yeah, most people don't. Most people are winging it.
There's always something that someone's, everyone's got a junk drawer or a Monica cupboard or a mental Monica cupboard of stuff. And I just think people don't talk about it. So it's okay to ask for help professionally. Of course, contact a declutter in your area, but also talk to family and friends, people that you feel safe to be vulnerable with, because they won't necessarily be able to help. They won't necessarily be able to come and sort your house out, but they will be able to go, yeah, I get that. I feel the same. Or I feel like I lost my sense of identity when I had my kids. Or I found that really hard. Or I did find that hard, but I've done this and this and this. Would you like me to help you? And I just think there's power in sharing, because it makes you feel less alone and less ashamed, but it takes vulnerability to reach out. And I think that's the thing. It's just having the courage to reach out to someone and go, I'm struggling with this. Like, can you help?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely, because there's just so many women are struggling. Arguably everyone in there, a cleaner, a nanny, everything. Then you're probably going to be struggling in some capacity, because there's simply not enough time. The world wasn't designed for what it is now, with everyone working and everyone, it's mad. But yeah, there's definitely ways that you can help, and getting rid of your clutter is not the easiest, as in like it's not easy, but it's the easiest thing to make a huge difference very quickly, if that makes sense. I don't know.
And longer term impact as well.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just impact you. If you get rid of your clutter, it transforms your family life.
Yeah.
And that's what
your relationships with everyone are better, aren't they? Like husband or partner and your kids, like you feel less snappy. I don't know, for me, like
for sure.
I mean, when it's when you're sharing the house with people and your house is messy, then it's very difficult. Clutter is one of the biggest causes of arguments.
Yeah, I literally feel my body is more tense if there's stuff everywhere. I feel it in my body, and I can feel myself physically calm when this is in my house. Obviously, not other people's houses. It's a bit different, but my own mess, or like not mine, my family's mess. Let's be honest. I can feel that tension in my body, and I feel the relaxing when things are put away.
Yeah.
Just
Well, there's been studies done, haven't there, about how women's cortisol is so much higher than men's when there's a mess around, and it's sorry, telling me to book a gym appointment. Have to have alarms because there's so many, and it's like if you don't get in straight away, they get booked up.
yeah.
But yeah, women just feel it so much more, and so that's why you can feel really stressed, and then your partner, well, your husband in this case, is like, I'm not that bothered, and that is what it's actually like scientifically proven that it's harder for women to be in a mess. Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Any final like words of wisdom or anything else, anything that you want to say that we haven't covered? I feel like we've spoken quite a lot.
I think we have. Yeah, I don't think so. I think it is just that. Just be kind to yourself, because it has to start with you, and it has to start with just going easy on yourself, because adding the guilt doesn't change anything. It just makes you feel worse. So yeah. And I think if you want to see change, it has to come from feeling like you can ask for help and that you can be kinder to yourself, because asking for help is a taking care of yourself.
100%. And also really looking into the benefits of having a clutter-free space as well. That will really help to motivate you as well, because if you can see, and if you can even put a tick next to, go and ask ChatGPT or something, what are the benefits of decluttering, or listen to one of the podcast episodes that are on here. I've spoken about it before, and just see like how many of the things affect you. And actually, if all of those things were eradicated, how much better would you feel about yourself and your life, and how much better would your family feel? And that's going to really, really help you to actually get motivated, because once you sort of deal with it, your life can then improve. And until you do, it's holding you back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say as well, I know lots of organisers, like myself included, and I think you at least did, if not do, also offer virtual services where if you're not sure you want someone to come to your house for the whole day, still reach out to someone who can give you a bit of advice, like book in a call with them, have an hour where you can just go, what do I do with this space? And get some advice, because it doesn't have to be that you pay to have someone in for a whole day. There are services available that give that support in a less kind of intensive way. So, just do reach out to people if you do need that help as well.
Definitely. And so on that note, Annie, if our listeners are listening to this and thinking, Annie, I need you in my life, how can they get in contact with you? Where can they follow you? Give us your details.
So they can find me on Instagram at Declutter with Delight, or I also have a website, so it's www.declutterwithdelight.com. So either of those, can find me on there, reach out, send me a DM, and I'd love to chat.
Fab. And you are in Oxfordshire.
Yes.
How far do you cover?
South Oxfordshire. So I can cover Oxfordshire, Berkshire, Buckinghamshire. But I mean, I also, so we used to live in Bedford. So I quite regularly travel back, because I've got very, very lovely repeat clients who I love very dearly. So I do travel to Bedfordshire too. And to be honest, I can go further, but it just takes longer to plan it so that I can plan in childcare. But again, the virtual services then can be great for kind of further afield as well. So I have, I've had a virtual client down in Brighton and stuff like that.
Amazing. So you do with your virtual, is it kind of, how does it work? Is it like virtual, you're helping them to literally declutter and organize it, or is it more like planning and helping them with working out what to do, or is it just depends on what
it just depends completely. So this client in Brighton, she showed me her space and we talked about some of the things she could do, and we actually then took a break and I sent over some links to some ideas of things she could do, and then we had another call. So we split the hour into 2 half hours, because sometimes to do everything in 1 hour, you might end the call and go, whoa, I had so many things to ask that I didn't. Whereas I think, it's bookable as an hour slot, but I just think if you split it, it actually makes it a little bit easier for people to kind of action those things. And then someone else, I had a kind of block booking of virtual sessions. So the first one was just talking about everything, showing me the space, talking about what they'd like to feel about their home. And then we had regular calls as almost as like accountability while they did things, and they could message me during the week on WhatsApp and I would give advice on things, or what do I do about this, or how would I do this, or stuff like that. So it's very tailored to the individual, whatever they need, really.
Amazing. We will put all your details in the description and in the podcast show notes as well. This will be going out on YouTube and podcast. So if you want to get in touch with Annie, you can do, and go and give her a follow as well.
Thank you very much.
But thank you so much for joining me. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Thank you for having me. It's been really, really lovely.
Good. You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Space Creator Show, and I will see you next week for the new one.